This week on the show, eBay makes a new affiliate announcement, Etsy announces that they're going to be leaving several countries, and there's an interesting thought experiment about whether eBay should consider buying Etsy. What is up, Galaxians? Welcome to episode number 290 of the Galaxy CDs, Rocks, and Flips Reseller Talk podcast. My name is Ryan, and we've got a handful of things to go over today. We've got an announcement from eBay and another from Etsy. We've got ongoing technical issues, again, over at eBay. But we're going to start with an interesting thought experiment, at least that's what it appears to be, about whether or not eBay should consider acquiring Etsy. And then at the end, of course, we'll have a brief What Sold recap after last week's massive 30-item thing. I think this week I've got just 6 for you, but there's some interesting stuff in there. There will be timestamps in the show notes and the video description down below if you want to go to a particular segment. And with that, let's get into this reselling news.
News updates.
So this article appeared over on e-commerce Bytes, and I will, of course, link to these in the show notes and the video description down below if you want to go read more about them or support Liz's fine work over at Value Added Resource. In particular, Piper Sandler analyst Anna Andreeva is causing a stir with suggestions that an eBay and Etsy merger could be an elegant solution to growth struggles in a new report musing on the possibility of a compelling combo. Should eBay buy Etsy? This is a really interesting, I don't know that there's any there, but it's an interesting thought experiment, if nothing else. Citing Etsy's needs for frequency, data, and scale that eBay can provide, as well as eBay's investments in AI, Andreeva says she believes together the companies could reach a buyer base of about 60% the size of Amazon's, which is nothing to sneeze at. With eBay's scale, she says if Etsy grew, value would likely be untapped. Given eBay's 134 million active buyers, we estimate a pro forma buyer base would be about 174 million buyers, or roughly 60% the size of the Amazon buyer base. The report goes on to suggest there are opportunities for synergies between Etsy and eBay due to a strong seller overlap, people like you and I that sell on both platforms, and that while the likelihood of an outright transaction is still relatively low, an all-stock transaction could lead to a combined pro forma eBay being worth about $85 a share. So, Liz asks, is there anything substantive to this report, or is it just wishful thinking with maybe a little hope for an Etsy stock price bump on the side? On paper, Etsy could be an attractive acquisition for eBay, especially if any potential deal kept the Etsy-owned subsidiaries of Depop and Reverb included rather than spinning them off separately. So you would get not only Etsy proper, of course, but the 2 other sites that are pretty popular within their portfolio. So Depop and Reverb, which would both be revenue-generating outfits for eBay. eBay, for their part, has spent the last 5 years building what they call their enthusiast buyer-focused vertical strategy, which we have talked about at great length on this show, introducing new experiences and initiatives centered around categories like luxury fashion, handbags, trading cards, sneakers, and so on, including car parts. But that narrowly focused strategy, as we have also talked about on this show, has not delivered the active buyer or gross merchandise volume growth that eBay had hoped for, and they have now pivoted eBay to a wider focus that goes back to their roots of consumer-to-consumer business and one-of-a-kind, non-new, in-season business that historically has been the key to eBay's success. That greater focus on that consumer-to-consumer and unique items that appeal to enthusiasts could be where Etsy may have value to bring to the table. Depop's consumer-to-consumer fashion segment would fit well with eBay's own pre-loved clothing initiatives, which we've talked about over the last month or so. They've made some big changes there in categorization of those items and whether it's new, pre-owned, good, and so on. And would have the benefit of knocking out a competitor, especially in the UK, where this category is particularly important to eBay. Reverb could bring a wider depth and breadth of inventory in musical instruments and gear categories, which may be a good next focus vertical category for eBay. And they also have existing relationships with brands for their outlet stores, which could benefit eBay as well. So there sounds like there's a lot A lot here to be interesting. Etsy's core handmade and vintage categories could form their own enthusiast vertical, either kept as a standalone site or highlighted with its own landing page and experience within the eBay site. Not to mention, many Etsy sellers say the platform looks more and more like eBay every day, with a number of AliExpress dropshippers who are allowed to continue to flood the site despite policies against that practice. If Etsy can't or won't enforce those policies to keep their site truly for handmade and vintage items, maybe they would be better off doing away with that pretense and simply folding themselves into a larger marketplace. eBay has made acquisitions over the last several years, some of which they've kept, some of which they have spun off. So it's an interesting idea. I'm not sure necessarily that there's any meat on the bone here, but it certainly gives you something to think about. Let me know in the comments down below whether you think this would be a good fit for either or both of those parties. They My initial reaction when seeing the headline was, oh my God, we would just multiply all the problems that two sites already have. But there are some synergies here, and it might make sense. Both of them are struggling to grow. There's a lot of pressure from shareholders and the business community at large for them to show some growth, and acquisition is one of the big tickets to growth. So maybe there's something here. We'll have to wait and see. Let me know in the comments what you think of that. But I thought it was a really interesting take on a potential future for those two sites. Speaking of Etsy, they are dropping their PayPal only option, and they will close all shops not using Etsy payments come August. Now, this impacts mostly some overseas countries. It's not relevant in kind of their major markets, the US and so on, but it's an interesting and somewhat disappointing thing to have happen, especially if you happen to be a seller that's going to be affected by this. Etsy dropped a bombshell on international sellers, announcing as of August 5th, shops which cannot use Etsy payments will be closed as the company removes the previous option, which allowed payment processing through PayPal. The update was emailed to sellers in countries where Etsy payments are not currently available, giving those merchants less than 5 months to move their businesses elsewhere. For one example, a seller in Iceland posted the email they received on Reddit saying, quote, "There goes my steady income." Starting August 5th, we'll be standardizing the payments process so that all sellers on Etsy are using Etsy payments. Buyers and sellers have told us over the years that Etsy payment provides a more streamlined payment process when they're shopping or selling on Etsy, and we have prioritized making Etsy payments available to as many sellers as possible. Obviously, it's in Etsy's best interest to do that, not only for those aforementioned customer benefits, but they then are able to collect the fees associated with that rather than PayPal collecting those fees. Unfortunately, they say, due to resource considerations, we are unable to bring Etsy payments to Iceland at this time. After careful consideration, we've made the difficult decision to stop supporting standalone PayPal on August 5th. As a result, we'll be closing seller shops in Iceland. What this means for you as a seller in Iceland, August 4th will be the last day you'll be able to receive an order, and your shop will be closed on August 5th. If you need to process refunds or returns, you'll be able to do that until December 31st through your PayPal account. You'll also be able to message customers until December 31st. We recommend downloading your data before August 5th if you want to keep it for your personal records. One other user said, "This is so incredibly disappointing and sad, and I feel so angry on behalf of the people impacted, especially when the only real issue, it seems like, is streamlining. I can't imagine that the lack of streamlining loses them more money than the amount they'll lose by removing this PayPal option." Etsy seller and e-commerce consultant Cindy Baldassi offered similar advice on her Patreon page, including helpful resources for those looking to move to different marketplaces or to create their own website. But she did also point out that the move isn't surprising, since Etsy has reported that 99% of their gross merchandise sales are already going through the Etsy payments program since Q3 of 2023. There is a link in this article to the full list of countries which support Etsy payments. This is for individual sellers who are going to be caught up in this. Obviously, this is potentially catastrophic if they can't find another viable resource to sell their wares, whether they're vintage sellers or handmade sellers. In the scheme of things for Etsy, if it is in fact 1% of their sales, this is a drop in the bucket, considering probably all of the other kind of back end stuff that they have to do in order to support it. So while it's unfortunate, I guess from a larger business perspective, I understand it from Etsy's side of the equation. But thoughts go out to those sellers who are going to be in affected countries. Hopefully they can find another site to sell on, and it would be ideal if Etsy could figure out whatever it is they need to do to be able to process payments in those countries so that they did not have to resort to this. eBay made an announcement last week, and I got an email from this. I am part of the eBay, whatever they call it, their partner program, their affiliate program, and they have now introduced a new program. It is a ambassador affiliate program. The information hasn't been shared super widely. Again, an email went out, I think, to people who were on the current program. It is different than the eBay Partner Network affiliate program in several ways. If you've gotten this email, you can let me know in the comments if this is something you're going to participate in. It looked like potentially the commissions are a little higher, but the number of goods that you can actually refer people to is a little smaller. So it's a kind of a strange setup. The eBay Ambassador Program allows creators, sellers, and buyers to earn money by promoting eBay listings. Members of this program do not have to be a buyer or a seller. So you can join this just as a content creator if you want to promote particular items on eBay. eBay will provide participants with custom tools to discover and share listings. There's an entire landing page that has recommended suggested items that you share. There's actually, you can have your own eBay affiliate, eBay ambassador homepage, which you can send links to, and you can populate with items that you would like to recommend. So it's kind of a cool setup. Again, I'll caveat all this with, and it may be a completely different team from eBay proper, but with all the other things that eBay has going on, this seems like unnecessary, but nonetheless, interesting program. You can discover and share listings, and you will be eligible to earn commission on resulting sales. You are not allowed, however, with this program, access to the more powerful API, which is part of the eBay Partner Network. In contrast, that other network is designed for professional marketers, publishers, and content creators to whom it provides dedicated support and advanced tools. A lot more reporting appears on that, a lot more ability to put links into your own website or mobile app than this ambassador program. So they're completely different audiences. Another difference is that eBay sets a rate card for regular EPN affiliates, while EAP, this new program, commissions are dynamic. They will change over time. Once ambassador participants use the discovery portal to find items they wish to share, they can click a button to share the item on Facebook, X/Twitter, Pinterest, email, Messenger, Reddit, LinkedIn, or WhatsApp, and they can add a customized message to their followers. While sellers can generate affiliate revenue through the EAP program, the biggest challenge is that it appears they'll be unable to automatically promote their own listings through the program. Again, eBay is going to recommend very specific items, and the catalog's pretty huge, but there's no way for me to actually use this tool to promote my own storefront. So that's kind of a bummer. But again, this is aimed at content creators who are maybe not part of eBay's existing ecosystem. The EPN affiliate members get access to the complete catalog. Selection of shareable items on this new program is curated by eBay. Seller reaction so far, kind of like mine, less than enthusiastic, largely because the program limits the listings which ambassadors can promote to earn commissions. One commenter wrote, eBay is asking for sellers to give eBay visibility when it is eBay who should be giving sellers visibility. That is a sentiment that has been expressed on this show on more than one occasion. But an interesting program nonetheless. I haven't done anything with it. I bookmarked it. I've got it set there, and I may change some of the links that I currently share as affiliate links to this program to see if it makes any difference, if those items are in fact available in that shop. But interesting program. Let me know if it's something that you would consider using. Last bit of news, this happened kind of midweek. eBay HTML updates break listing descriptions with unwanted bold font and other changes. So something changed on the back end. Again, no real communication as to what that is, but sellers who populate their item descriptions with HTML are having all kinds of issues. eBay users are frustrated with a recent update to the listing page description coding that is inserting or, in some cases, ignoring HTML code for bold fonts, line breaks, and more. The problem is being discussed in the eBay community forum, with users saying it appears to be impacting their new listings and they are unable to fix the issue themselves through HTML editing options that eBay provides in the listing form. One said, I can't get rid of the things. When I edit the listing and fix it, and once I save, it's inserted again at random points in the listing description. I tried creating a different listing description from scratch and it still did it. I have stuff to get done today and this is frustrating the heck out of me. Another said, similar issue, text formatting keeps getting removed when saving or listing. Things like spacing, boldness just keeps changing. I tried removing everything and starting fresh, but go to list an item and it's all jumbled up again. Another, same thing. Also, /I and /P having issues as well, despite reformatting manually several times. The changes keep reverting back to complete formatting mess. There's some speculation that eBay made some updates in their code, and as is the case a lot of times with coding, a simple typo may be causing this. Others pointed out it's not just inserting HTML for bold text, it's breaking other parts of the code as well. The bold text, one said, is only the minor issue. It's ignoring standard HTML tags like line breaks, paragraph tags, inserting tag hundreds of times, changing and adding font tags just as much as well as tags. It's a complete and utter mess. And worse, you clean the HTML up, go out of the HTML mode, just inserts all that junk again. It's unfixable by users. And that it goes back to the point where they think there is a coding problem that is reading, for instance, a BR, which should be a line break. It's reading that B in BR as bold, even though it's clearly BR. So every instance of B in the code, it's making things bold, and it's just screwing up people's formatting. Crazy. I don't list that way, so I've not experienced this. Let me know if you do your product descriptions using HTML. Is this a problem that you have come across? eBay community staff did reply to confirm it's a known issue, was currently being worked on, provided an alert number for users to reference. They said, thank you for sharing. I did confirm there's a ticket open for the description text being automatically changed to bold letters. The ticket is alert 15856 and is being worked for a resolution. As of the time of recording, as far as I know, there has not been a resolution. Users, they note, saw similar HTML errors crop up in variation listing drop-down menus earlier this month, raising questions about why eBay may be toying with the basic coding and design of the view item listing page. Let me know if that's something that you have run into over on eBay. That, my friends, is going to put a wrap on this week's news. Now let's get into this very brief What Sold segment. Not a whole lot this week. Like I said, I think there's just 6 items. If you follow me over on Instagram at Galaxy CDs Rocks, I did post that it was a pretty slow week. eBay was off a little bit. Etsy for me was super slow, and Mercari was, where's the sound effect? Nothing, not a single sale last week on Mercari for me. So it was pretty rough. In the end, it's going to work out to about an average week for me in terms of sales volume, but there just wasn't a lot of really cool stuff. But we do have a few here. This first one, hey, it's not a book. This is a old, looks like maybe 90s era, maybe a little older, Delphi Indy Racing polo shirt, black with white checks. It's got like a checkered flag thing on the collar. Interesting shirt I picked up for a couple of bucks at a garage sale. Man, I don't even know, 3+ years ago. I had it running on sale, 25% off at $26.24. I got an offer of $22. I've had this thing forever. I own it for $2. I took the offer and moved this thing along. The buyer paid $7 in shipping. Their order total was $30.74. I paid $3.91 in fees, $2.15 for the promoted listing fee. I paid just $5.21 to ship this because, again, I'm on ground advantage or priority. I don't pass my shipping discount along, so I made a little bit back on the shipping. My total cost $15.01. This shirt that I bought for $2 2 or 3 years ago ended up making me $15.73. Back to the books and over to Etsy. Discipline of the Methodist Episcopal Church from 1924. The editor was David Downey. This was a first edition hardcover. This was part of a lot of religious books that I picked up. Man, I would guess it's probably a little over a year ago now. I was into these for $1. I had several of these particular books from different years. This was the last one that I had. It was listed for $25.99, sold at my 10% off sale on Etsy for $23.39 plus shipping. Tiny book, probably 4x6. Pretty heavy, though. It weighed over a pound, so it was a very stout book considering its size. The buyer paid a total of $30.78. I paid just $3.04 in fees, no offsite ad fee. It cost me $4.63 to ship. Cost of goods sold was $1. I made $20.10 on this. This was kind of cool. This was from the big 1800 book lot, which included a lot of art books. And this is the Hokusai sketchbooks selections from the manga. James A. Michener. This was a hardcover in its slipcase with a bunch of really, really cool artwork in it. Again, picked up at a big estate buyout. 1,800 books for 50 cents a piece. Was listed on Etsy for $28.99 and sold for $26.09 plus shipping. The order total $33.85. I paid $3.37 in fees. This did sell through the offsite ad program, $4.83 there. Again, that 50-cent cost of goods sold. My net profit $17.39. Old anime DVD. This was new and sealed. Comic Party Revolution, the complete series. I think it was like Super Awesome Value Edition is what this was called. Published by Funimation. Again, new and sealed DVD. This was part of the big manga and anime lot where I got everything for 50 cents. I want to say it was probably last spring now. It's probably coming up on a year as well. This was listed for $29.99, which is what it sold for over on eBay plus shipping. I paid $5.45 in fees. Was $4.52 to ship by Ground Advantage. My total cost $12.55 net profit on this DVD, $24.15. Another one over on eBay, 40 Illustrators and How They Work by Ernest W. Watson. First edition illustrated hardcover from 1946. Really interesting book. This was part of a big lot of illustration and printing and advertising books that I picked up at an estate sale probably 6 or 7 months ago for, again, just 50 cents a piece. This was listed for $39.99 and sold for $34 on an offer. $306 in fees. $642 in fees. $306 in promoted listing fees. Again, 50 cents cost of goods sold. Net profit on this $34 book ended up being $24.02. And I think this is the last one of the week. This is 8 books from the Carolyn Keene, who was the writer of the Nancy Drew mysteries. She did another series of books called the Dana Girls Mysteries. I may have talked about these at some point in the last couple of weeks, but hat tip to Aaron Rebel Junk, who had reached out to me about a bunch of books that they could not use at a sale that they were having, kind of a fundraising sale. So I drove to Findlay, Ohio, and picked up, it was like almost 600 books, I think, when it was all said and done. It was a pretty massive haul, and they were free to me. This person bought 8 of these for a grand total of $94.92 plus shipping. Same kind of things as the Nancy Drew books. There were, I think, 24 or 25 in this one box. This person bought 8. I've probably sold 8 others individually. So I've probably made on the order of coming up close to $200 in sales on just that one box from that pickup. So Aaron, if you're watching or listening, thank you very much. That single box made the trip up to Findlay, Ohio worthwhile. $94.92 plus shipping and tax. The order total was $109.02. I paid $15.41 in fees, $7.64 in promoted listing fees. This did ship Ground Advantage, so I saved a little bit of money on the shipping, just $6.53. Cost of goods sold, again, 0. So my net profit, $73.74. That, my friends, is pretty good. And that is going to put a wrap on one of the shortest episodes we have had in quite some time. Not a ton of news this week. Some interesting things going on, but nothing super major, and not a ton of sales to go over. So we're bringing this bad boy in under 30 minutes. As always, thank you for spending a little bit of your time here with me. If you got something out of this, please do me a favor. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. Let YouTube know this was a valuable investment of your time and mine. If you're not currently a follower of the podcast or a subscriber to the YouTube channel, consider doing that and sharing this with anybody else that you might think would get some value out of it. Until next time, my friends, it's time to sell. You have been listening to the Galaxy CDs Rocks and Flips Reseller Talk podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will catch you again next time.